this is Mark Hurst, the host of Tectonic, covering our shift to a digital future, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. here on KABF 88.3. Tectonic is a talk show exploring how technology is affecting our lives. Through interviews with authors and journalists, and spotlighting the risks posed by big tech platforms and what we can do about it. Join me on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. right here on KABF.
Arkansas ranks 23rd among states in terms of the change in math achievement between 2019 and 2024, and 19th in reading. That's according to the Education Recovery Scorecard from the Center for Education Policy Research at Harvard University and the Educational Opportunity Project at Stanford. The study compares learning before and after the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Harvard Professor Tom Kane says chronic absenteeism, which rose from 22% in 2019 to 28% in 2024, is keeping students in Arkansas from catching up.
The pandemic itself may have been the earthquake, but the increase in absences has been a tsunami that is continuing to roll through American schools. So it's not just about what happened, it didn't happen during that 2021 school year.
He says the scorecard shows the gap between high-income and low-income school districts has increased. 16% of Arkansas students are enrolled in schools that are performing better now than they were in 2019. School districts nationwide received federal money to address the learning loss caused by the pandemic. Arkansas received $1.9 billion.
Is this my computer?
Yeah, I'm on the personal. I'm on the personal.
Districts that received more money did see somewhat faster catch up, but it really depended on what districts spent the money on. When districts spent money on tutoring and summer learning and other kinds of interventions, they saw even faster.
He adds that moving forward, parents must be more involved and see to their children's success.
Many polls have reported that parents are misinformed about their own child's age. And the reason why that is so important is that if parents think everything's fine, they're less likely to enroll in summer learning. They're less likely to ask for a tutor.
I'm Freda Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find out trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Yes, that's Roberta Flack bringing us in this morning to Community Voices Live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. We are so glad that you are here this morning. We always want to make sure that we pause for the cause, and that is to express our gratitude for all that you continue to do to support us at the station. We realize and we recognize that we would not be alive on the air today if it were not for you. In all of the many ways that you show up for us, we say thank you every single week. And we want you to know that we mean it from the bottom of our hearts. And we greet you this morning in the spirit of Sawubona. On its face, it is a greeting. It's a greeting. Hello. But if you dig a little deeper, it means that I'm inviting you into my space and I'm asking you to invite me into yours so that we can understand the power of what it means to be one. We are bound in our oneness because we are bound in our humanity. That's what brings us together. Now, how can we live into that spirit of oneness? What does that look like for us? If we really saw each other as God, if we really saw each other as divine, if we really saw each other as worthy, as valuable, the way that we really are, if we lived into that, what would it change about you? Would it change the way that you vote? Would it change where you buy your clothes? Would it change where you go to church? Like, what does it look like for you? So these conversations we have every single week help you to think about that at the end of the day. How are you living into the oneness of humanity? So we have Toney in the house today, live in the studio. I want to see if he has anything to say to you this morning.
Good morning, everyone. And first thing I want to say is just thank all of you who took the time out to send a pledge or send a donation, or who took advantage of the premiums we offered on our Buy What. Thank you. Everything you give helps the sustainability of KABF 88.3. Also, I just want to let people know that there is a House bill working its way through the General Assembly. It's HB 1506. That's HB 1506. For those of you who may not remember, about 4 years ago, less than 4 years ago, when Governor Sanders got elected governor, one of her first executive orders in her LEARNS Act, the bill that was passed that opened up for public vouchers and opened up the door for teachers to receive raises. One of the, in the fine print, it was that there could be no more teachers union, that the teachers union would have to be dissolved. And so now House Bill 1506 is taking it a little farther. And it's a bill that says that no public, state or public employee can have any type of deductions from their paycheck to go to union dues. Even though there's no collective bargaining contract with any entity in the state, unions still have the right to solicit members, still have the right to represent members, still have a right to collect dues. And Andrew Wade, I think it's Wade Andrews, who is the sponsor of the bill, he stated that basically he wants to financially cripple unions here in the state where they cannot be a force, where they cannot sustain, where they cannot be a factor. As a union organizer and a field director of a union, it's not only troubling, but I also know that it's really aimed at the teachers union, because like I said, even though they don't have collective bargaining, they still have the right to be a part of NEA. That's the biggest union here in the state for teachers. And basically those teachers are pushing back. They keep pushing back. This past November, there was an amendment that we wanted to require private schools to follow the same rules as public schools as far as information that are given out about tests, about scores, test scores, and about the efficiency of private schools that public schools have to do. And so all that was being pushed by NEA. And so this is the governor's and the legislators' way of stopping amendments like this from coming back and crippling the ability of organizations to push back. So just want you to be aware that if you are a teacher, and you don't have to be a teacher. You have children in the public education system. You are a voter. You are a resident, and you see some of the shenanigans and some of the things they are doing to suppress your right to a voice, to suppress your right to question and suppress your right to make changes. This is what this part of this is what it's all about. And it's so amazing. One last thing, that when Denise played Roberta Flack on the way into the station this morning, they were talking about that Roberta Flack passed yesterday, and it just reminded me of the voice she had. It just reminded me of the song she did, and it just let us know so many of our icons and our heroes and our mentors, they are slowly passing away, and we should honor them while they're still alive. Should give them their due while they're still here. And that's all I have.
Wow, that was a lot. I chose Roberta Flack on purpose because I know that she passed. Everything that we do on this show is methodical and it is strategic so that we can make sure that we are working to get the message across in a way that everybody can understand and receive. So I absolutely chose Roberta Flack on purpose, and I chose that song on purpose, My Foolish Heart, and it's going to ground our conversation. But I don't want to move any further until we hold space for Roberta Flack, this Grammy Award winning jazz vocalist who entered Howard University when she was like 16, 17 years old. She was young, the youngest person ever to enroll, graduated at 19. She was going to go on to get her master's degree in music until her father passed, and then that forced her to have to go back home where she became a music teacher, and then she began to branch out on her own, so to speak. And she played the piano because first she was a music major, and then she chose to switch to being a vocal major. And so she used to accompany herself when she would sing. And that's not always that. I know it's not an easy thing to do, but it definitely makes your career more valuable in terms of how you can make money. Because if you are the writer and the composer and the singer, then that means that you can maximize your talent. And so I want to make sure that we hold space for her, and to also remember that she was more than just a singer. One of the things that she did do was she worked with, she founded a music school so that children who were underserved in particular could have access to music, who could have access to education, and it's named the Roberta Flack School of Music. And so we want to make sure that we recognize that even beyond her musicianship, she was also an activist and an advocate, especially for education and especially for children. And so if you would, with me, let's just hold space and think about what Toney said about those who have molded us and shaped us and guided us in their own way, how they're no longer with us. So many we can name, and now we're adding Roberta Flack. And to think about how we can show up for folks now before we have to hold space for them because they're gone. Like, how can we show up now while they are yet still alive? And so let's just pause for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you for that. I want to make some announcements before we get started with our EJI tidbit. Pat Rogers Ward will have on her show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. from 9 to 10, Arkansas Talks, every single week on Wednesdays right here at KABF 88.3 FM. She will have Tanya Leaks, I think that's who she's going to have. Don't let me tell you who she's going to have. Okay, Tanya Leaks. Tanya is promoting a comedy and jazz concert. LFOA Incorporated presents a benefit comedy and jazz concert. The headliners are Tanya Leaks and the Groovology Band. Okay, Groovology. Okay. It's happening on Saturday, March 1st, and there are free tickets available to this event for you right now. You can call in to the station at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are open. If you'd rather not be on the air, you want to call in to the office, that number is 501-372-6119, 501-372-6119. You can let Charles know, but it's going to be first come, first serve, so it's probably better for you to call me. But you can win these 2 tickets. You get 2 tickets, free tickets to this event. Again, this is a benefit comedy and jazz concert. It's going to feature the comedian Keith Glasson with a special mystery guest. Again, this is happening on March 1st from 5:30 to 9 p.m. The doors open at 5 p.m. at 6200 Erie Street in Little Rock. And so if you want to call in, 501-433-0088, got 2 tickets available for you to this event. Right. I also want to let you know, I got a few more announcements. Let's see. Let's do it this way. Dana Dossett, she sent me a couple of announcements that I want to make for you. Want to remind you that as preparations are being made, this was not a good idea. As preparations are being made and the summer is vastly approaching, now is the time to register to become a summer youth employment opportunity workforce for 2025. For new and previous worksite participants, the worksite application is now available, and we do have the link for you. So be sure to read it though and complete all sections. So she is recruiting for youth employment opportunity work sites for 2025. If you are able to support in that way, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, good afternoon. This is from Dana Dossett. I'm looking for career speakers to support our partnership with the Little Rock School District's Career and Technical Education Department. We're providing 8th grade students with the opportunity to hear from professionals like you to assist them in career exploration. And there's a schedule of dates available that you can choose from if you are interested. Again, dial 501-433-0088, and we will make sure you have that information if that is something that you want to participate in. Also want to let you know and be reminded of the event that's happening Thursday night with Victoria Christopher Murray and the new book that she has out. It's going to take place at the Ron Robinson Theater this Thursday, February 27th from 6:30 to 7:30. And this is the best-selling co-author of The Personal Librarian and The First Ladies on tour with her new novel, Harlem Rhapsody, that you can purchase right here at Pyramid on 1001 Wright Avenue. So that is happening on Thursday. So I want to make sure that you have all of these announcements so that you can know what is going on around you and you can figure out how best to show up in these spaces so that the work of your hands can be contributed to the work that we're doing in the community. And so I think those are all of the announcements that I want to make on today. Oh, I got my own announcement that I keep forgetting to make. I'm not sure if you know that I'm a graphic artist, but I have some work on display at 610. It is a bar at 610 Center Street. That's why they call it 610, because it's at 610 Center Street. And this series, I've selected some pieces from a series that is a critique on modern Christianity. That's what the series is about. That's what all of the pieces are about. And so they are on display at 610. Want to let you know that 610 is a bar that is designed and caters to members of the LGBTQIA+ population. So if you got a problem being in those spaces, then don't go. It is also a bar that serves alcohol. So if you can't be in the presence of alcohol, don't go. But if you are able, I would love for you to go and then hit me up and let me know what you think about the show. But they'll be on display. I I know through the weekend. I know they'll still be there through the weekend. So I wanted to make that announcement as well. I have something to tell you about the Build Black initiative that we've started. Thursday is our first meeting. It is happening from 7 to 8:30. It is going to start on time and it is going to end on time. It's from 7 to 8:30. And first, when I started talking about it, there were 6 principles, 6 principles of purpose. And one of them was reparations. And so what I need to share with you is that I have decided to scrap that piece from the initiative because it will require, if we're going to fight for reparations, it will require us to be entangled in the political system in order for us to try to push a bill through that would force the government to respond to us in the ways that we deserve. And because the whole point of the initiative is for us to live outside the system, the last thing I want to do is get entangled with the system. So I believe in reparations. I believe that they are important, but I don't believe that they belong to what this campaign, this building of a nation is all about. And so I wanted to make sure I'm clear on that. So just in case that was your draw to us, that was your draw to the nation, that you could reconsider whether or not you want to be a part of it. And there is still time if you are still thinking about joining us on Thursday night. You can hit me up at 501-503-2988. That's 503-2988. That's the number to Build Black. So I want to make sure that you have that information. Now, those of you who have already contacted me through that number, it's been great talking to you. You should have the address by now. You should know the location for where we're going to be on Thursday. If you do not have that location, then let me know. Now, some of you don't have the location because we agreed that you are not a match. And so since you're not a match, I did not send the location. If you're unsure about that conversation and you don't know, you don't remember whether you're a match or not, again, call me at 501-503-2988 and I will remind you of the conversation that we had, this where we settled on whether or not this was something for you to participate in. So thank you all so much We've had lots of conversations. We have lots of phone calls. I mean, we are really in the thick of it getting ready for Thursday. And so again, it's from 7 to 8:30 this Thursday. And I hope to see all of you who have contacted us, hope to see you there. I feel like there was something else that I was supposed to say. And then if I remember it, then I will bring it up. I want to talk a little bit about Roberta Flack talking about her foolish heart. And there's no doubt that as she's talking about, as she's singing this song, it is rooted in the context of a romantic relationship where she's involved with another person and she's trying to figure out what to trust. Should she trust what her heart is saying? Is her heart telling her the truth? How do I know that I need to move in this direction? Because I've tried it before. I've trusted my heart. I've done this before. And it turned out that my heart was foolish, that my heart led me in the wrong direction. And so now I'm faced with another opportunity to decide whether or not I want to move in this way, but I don't want to be foolish anymore. And I don't want to trust it if I already know, or if I have some red flags, or if I have some semblance that this is going to be something that's hurtful or painful to me. So she's engaging in this internal dialogue about what she should do in the face of this fascination that she feels with this person. I'm gonna say man, because I know she was married to a man, so I'm gonna say man. Now, in the song, there is this line that says, "There's a line between love and fascination that's hard to see." There's a line between love and fascination that's hard to see. And that's one of the reasons why she's having to figure out, like, what am I really looking at here? And then there's another line where she talks about, she goes on to say, "For they all give the very same sensation." So you think you're in love with something or someone, but actually what you're in love with is not what you are attracted to in that person isn't actually love. It's something else, but it feels the same. And so since your body is reacting the same, you want to go with it because you like the way it feels and you enjoy feeling that way. And so you throw yourself or thrust yourself into the relationship only to find out that you've been foolish. And so that's what she's talking about in this song in the context of a romantic relationship. But I want to lift that up out of the romantic part of it and apply it to us socially, and apply it to us politically, and apply it to us socio-politically. I want us to think about, especially in this day and age and what we're living through right now with this new presidential administration, how for some of us, we are being foolish. Our hearts are telling us, or you say heart, brain, mind, intuition, whatever word you want to use, it's telling us to do something because we believe that what we're doing is going to be right. Because when we heard the rhetoric, when we heard what was coming across the media, it made us feel good. It made us believe that certain things were going to happen. It made us buy into what was being said. And it made us think that if we do a certain thing, if we vote a certain way, if we act a certain way, it's going to benefit me and I'm going to grow, I'm going to gain, I'm going to get something out of it. And so we're being led by that feeling without understanding that we should have done some more work. So we should have thought about it more deeply. And so what has happened now is that we realize, some of us are just now realizing, many of us have already realized that what you're doing is foolish. And so Roberta Flack actually calls us fool. Like, you're a fool and you need to beware. And when we use the word fool, I want to make sure that we're understanding the denotation as such, that we're talking about a person who does not make good decisions, that their decisions are not rooted in sound judgment. You're not using your good sense when you are making these decisions. So that's the only definition I'm using for the word fool. And then she cautions us to beware. You need to step back, be alert, pay attention to what's happening, because you can't just follow your feelings, because your feelings will cause you to be a fool because your heart is foolish in that moment. And some of us are living into those words right now, especially in the political realm, because we continue to believe the rhetoric without stopping and saying, hey, let me check my emotions and begin to engage my brain so that I can do some things differently. Let me get Hotep on here before I keep going. Hotep says, it seems as if in these times that reason, logic, and deduction have been thrown out of the window. It seems as if in these times, reason, logic, and deduction have been thrown out of the window. Well, I would not disagree with you on that. I feel like we are in a forward progressive movement of dumbing down America, where we're not asked to think. We're not expected to think. We're not required to think. Those of us who are thinking, those of us who are using logic and reason to make decisions, we are being silenced, because that's the last thing they want, is for you to use reason, logic, and deduction. And so we're pushing, that's why we're having this conversation, to push us beyond the feelings of the clickbait and the TikTok that only lasts for 15 minutes or whatever that is. Now, don't get me wrong, you get some good stuff off of TikTok, but some of us are just scrolling for videos and scrolling for the recipe, and we are not taking the time to engage our intellect around what is happening. And so Roberta Flack cautions us that we need to beware, because our hearts may very well be foolish. And in this case, I'm gonna go further than they may very well be. They absolutely are, and we need you to check yourself. And this conversation hopefully will help you do that. And so I wanted to ground us in that space, and also the EJI tidbit for today. Well, the one that I'm using today is actually tomorrow's tidbit. So on February 26th, which is tomorrow, I know, in 2012, Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old Black boy, is killed in Sanford, Florida. Police arrest the shooter, George Zimmerman, only after the national outcry against claim that Stand Your Ground law barred his prosecution. Wait a minute, I don't think they wrote that right. I know I didn't read it right. Let me read it again. Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old Black boy, is killed in Sanford, Florida. Police arrest his shooter, who is George Zimmerman, but only after there was a national outcry against the claim that he did not have to be prosecuted because he stood his ground. And I wanted to bring this up because the stand your ground law became something that, it was controversial. People were talking about it all over the world. And some Black folks were feeling like, wait a minute. This is a good thing. This is a law that they are passing that's going to benefit me, because if I shoot somebody, I can also use this claim. It's going to work in my favor. And what they found out very quickly is that even though the law was passed so that everybody could benefit from it, it still excluded you. And you could not use it as a defense because you are Black. And so we get enticed by these things. Our hearts are foolish because we feel good about this bill. Oh, this bill gonna give me the one up on whatever it is I'm trying to do, only to realize that every law that is made, everything that happens is happening to protect the system of whiteness. It is never done to benefit you in any way. And if you continue to believe that they're doing it on your behalf, you continue to make dumb, foolish decisions that are impacting us all. And so we have to be cautioned against thinking that whatever comes down the pike, we can trust it. That's why Roberta Flack sitting in the cut. Can I trust this? Like, what can I, like, let me think about it. We have to stop and think and reflect and say, wait a minute, I don't want to continue to be a fool, because that's what the system of white inhumanity needs from us. That's what they desire from us. That's what they yearn for from us. That's what they legislate for from us, for us to be forced into a situation, not forced, for some of us to choose to be in a situation where we are complicit in their systems because we believe that they're doing something for us. We believe that they're being friendly. We believe that they're being kind. We believe that they finally see us. And that is far from the truth. And so this conversation is rooted in both Roberta Flack and Trayvon Martin. I was pausing to see if you had something to say, Toney. You haven't
I think you're right. I think the biggest thing that happens, when you start talking about the dumbing down of America or our people, the number one thing is that if the powers that be can get you to be emotional, there's nothing wrong with being emotional. There's nothing wrong with being in your feelings. It's just like Roberta Flack is saying, and what she's singing about, that when you get into your feelings and your emotions, sometimes it's hard to really see that line. It's hard to separate love and fascination because you're in your feelings. Your feelings will betray you. And so when you start to look at what's going on, and you're only getting what I call the sports center version of things, you're just getting a little snippet. You're getting a little word here, a little sentence here, a little 2-word response here, and your emotions and your feelings will say, oh, this is a good thing. Yeah, this is a good thing. Going back to what you said about stand your ground. Oh, this is a good thing. But you miss the deepness of it. You don't go deeper. You don't go farther into it. And just using stand your ground, for example, in Florida, the way they looked at it was that Black people can't stand their ground because who are they afraid of? And the law was there to say that if you feel threatened, well, they look at Black people and say, how can Black people be threatened by Black people? They're strong. They're virile. They're this, they're that. So they can't be afraid of each other. But if you're white, you have to be afraid of them. And so we do have to stop and have to think deeper. And as long as we don't think deeper and we just think on a surface level, then we will continually be drawn into emotional and feeling emotional things that in the end will be detrimental to you.
I feel like for some people, this might be an abstract conversation. And so I wanted to see if I can give us a concrete example of what I'm talking about in terms of us being foolish with our heart. And I'm saying heart but I mean mind, because you're okay. I don't want to get into that, but I'm talking with your heart, with your thought process, with your decision making. I'm just using heart as a metaphor because I was playing off of Roberta Flack's words. But I want to see if I can make it more concrete. Now, I was scrolling through CNN and I came across a headline that was celebrating the fact that football players, wait a minute, this my brother on here, the Dr. Derek Donnell, city council person in Cape Coral, Florida, only black man sitting up there. He said, think deeper. Who is doing that these days? And that is a good question. And the answer is not enough of us. Not enough of us. But I was scrolling through CNN and I came across this headline because that's what I do. I scroll through and I'm only looking at the headlines. And in those headlines that I think are worthy of my attention, I'm going to save it and I'm going to circle back to it later. And then I'm going to read more into it. But there are some headlines that actually do work on me for clickbait. I'm like, wait, what? I got to read this right now. I at least gloss over it. And so I ran across this headline that National Football, that was celebrating the fact that football players are now able, that they don't have to worry about growing their beards. They don't have to worry about there being any sanctions, any discriminatory or retaliatory actions to the fact that they now have these beards that they think are important. And so they were celebrating this. And there's even a statement that was made. Well, I don't want to talk about the statement from the football players, but there was a statement because the baseball players did the same thing. Now, I don't know why it's on that. I don't know what happened to make it come up on the news feed now, because my understanding is that it's been like that. Like it's been like that. Like, I don't know. So I didn't even get into what happened. I just wanted to focus on the fact that here you are with these, this freedom to grow your beard, and nobody can say anything about it. It's your hair, it's your natural hair. And the one part that I read said that you can grow it until it stops growing. So it can get as long as you want it to get, as long as your hair grows. If that's how long you want your beard to be, it is perfectly all right. And so I want to read the statement the statement from the Yankees managing general partner Hal Steinbrenner. I want to read his statement. And for those of you who are on Facebook, I'm posting it for you so that you can see it. Okay, it says, in recent weeks, this is about the alteration of Yankees' facial hair policy. In recent weeks, I have spoken to a large number of former and current Yankees spanning several eras to elicit their perspectives on our long-standing facial hair and grooming policy, and I appreciate their earnest and valid feedback. These most recent conversations are an extension of ongoing internal dialogue that dates back several years. Ultimately, the final decision rests with me, and after great consideration, we will be amending our expectations to allow our players and uniformed personnel to have well-groomed beards moving forward. It is the appropriate time to move beyond the familiar comfort of our former policy. And then I want you to see what is happening with that was baseball. Now this is football. The part that's highlighted here for you, those of you who are watching on Facebook, this is from Article 49. Well, I want to start at the end. I want to start up at the top where it says, while I don't know anything about the MLB's collective bargaining agreement, I know one thing about the NFL's. No team rule regarding facial hair or scalp hair would be permitted. From Article 49, Section 2, this is a quote, clubs may make and enforce reasonable rules governing players' appearance on the field and in public places while representing the clubs, provided, however, that no player will be disciplined because of hair length or facial hair. So this is both the system of baseball and the system of football saying, hey, we are not going to try to regulate how somebody decides to grow hair on their face. Like, that is just not something that we are interested in. Even for those people who have locks that are long and they flow down their back, sometimes they get tackled because the person grabs them by their locks and yanks them down. So that's really dangerous. It's a dangerous way of playing, but still, you have the right to have these locks if you want to, because the governing board of the baseball system and the governing board of in the collective bargaining agreement with the NFL, then you have a right to do that. So then, if that's the case, why is it that for Black folks, we are still fighting for the Crown Act? We are still fighting for the Crown Act. Here it is. For those of you, let me remind you about the Crown Act. Simply put, the Crown Act protects students' rights to wear or treat their hair however they desire without the threat of racial discrimination or loss of access to school, participation in activities, and inclusion in opportunities inside and beyond typical classrooms. Let me read it again. Why do we have the Crown Act? The Crown Act is necessary because it protects students' rights to wear or treat their hair however they desire without the threat of racial discrimination or loss of access to school, participation in activities, and inclusion in opportunities inside and beyond typical classrooms. This is in response to the many cases in schools, public and private alike, where Black children in particular were being punished because of their hair. They were being suspended. They were being placed in school suspension. They were being excluded from after school activities. They were being excluded from sporting events because they wore locks. Because of the way that their hair grows out of their head naturally, they were being punished because they were Black. Now, these white systems say, what's wrong with you? Wait a minute. We're not going to try to police your hair. Why would we try to tell you how to grow your hair? Like, who does that? What do you mean, who does that? The federal government and state governments do it right now for Black folks. So people who are looking at this NFL announcement or this Major League Baseball announcement like, yay, look, it ain't for you, boo. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep going in just a minute, but let me get this comment. So Lowe says, this has to do with control and indoctrination to the system of white superiority. This has to do with control and indoctrination to the system of white superiority. The system that I call the system of white inhumanity. We got to stop saying white superiority because it reinforces, even subliminally, every time you say it, you are attaching superiority to whiteness. And that is not the case. It's not that that white people are superior. It's that the system is inhumane and we need to call it what it is. And so, yes, this is about control, but it's about particular control over the Black body. Because the white people that's playing in these games, the white people that's running these systems of football and baseball, they ain't concerned about no beards. But in the classroom with the Black children, you're concerned about their hair, to the point that we had to have someone fight for us to get this act passed. And I'll tell you what happened to it. I think Toney wants to say something.
Yeah, it is fascinating, that you bring this up because, we always talk about connecting the dots. So in the classroom, in high school, because there is a control over these students, there's a control over these students. And there's this idea that if you're going to be at our school, you will conform to the way we want you to. But once you get to, there are no rules or regulations in college. There's no rules and regulations in Major League Sports. Why? Because now, in high school, you're not making money for the school. The sport you play does not make money for the school. But once you get to college and once you get to the professional leagues, there's a lot of money to be made. And now you go into this idea that the majority of these sports are dominated by either Black or brown bodies. In Major League Baseball, is you have a lot of brown and Black bodies. But in the NBA, NFL, they're like 80% Black. So that's entertainment. And we don't want to control the entertainment aspect. We don't care. As long as you make us money. Going back to how the slave owners didn't care. You make me money. That's your responsibility to make me money and to entertain me to a certain extent. But we know in high school, we can control what you do. We can determine what you do. And that's where, and I agree with you, Denise, that's where the fight is about. And I wish some NFL or some NBA players would come out and say, hold up, if we have the right to wear our hair anywhere we want to in our beards, then we need to fight for all students, for those those young black men and young black women that are in high school. They should have that right too.
And that's exactly the point. Like that, when you're talking about control, I just want to the point that I want to keep drilling down on is specifically control over the black body, because the other bodies I'm not as concerned about in the classroom. And so in the system of education. So here's what happened. So the Crown Act, I think this is the one I want to pull up. Yeah, the Crown Act was drafted and sponsored by State Senator Holly Mitchell, and it was passed unanimously in both chambers of the California legislature in 2019. That was on July 3rd in 2019. And then there were people subsequent to that, meaning after that, there were states who also adopted the Crown Act. You had New York, New Jersey, New York City, Washington, Maryland, Nevada, Virginia, Colorado, Texas, Massachusetts, and Michigan that adopted the Crown Act. Okay. A Crown Act was also introduced in South Carolina, but it did not pass the body. Now, did you hear me mention Mississippi? Did you hear me mention Arkansas? Did you hear me mention Alabama? These dirty South states that are now. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. This whole country is rooted and grounded in racism. Now, I'm not saying that at all, but we know there's a special kind of history with the Deep South that we talk about when we say Mississippi, Alabama, Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, and none of those states are interested in adopting this law. And it's just interesting to me because with the baseball players, all the man with the power, all he said he did was listen to the stories of former and present players, and he pulled from those stories the fact that he needed to make this change. When we talk about what happened in the football league, they put it in their agreement. Like, the only way we're going to negotiate this agreement is that you put this clause in here. We're not even going forward unless we get this clause. So they had a whole bargaining agent on behalf, speaking on their behalf. And they were able to push through these policies that said, you can't say nothing to me about my hair. But yet and still, when we have attorneys who have taken these cases with these children to court, they are losing in court because the court is not honoring the Crown Act because they don't have to. And let me show you why. They absolutely do not have to.
Can I say something?
Oh, absolutely.
So you mentioned the South. You mentioned all these states in the South. In the South, they really don't care about how you wear your hair as a black man or how you wear your hair as a black student, because what they have done is they have already profiled you. So if you're walking down the street and you have these locks and you have your hair a certain way, it opens the door for law enforcement to say that, oh, that's a gangbanger. Oh, that's a misfit. That's that's somebody that looks dangerous because of how they wear their hair. So they don't want to stop that. They don't want to create a law that maybe have you change that. They want it that way so they can continue to profile you and continue to oppress you and continue to get you to put you in situations where you will go to jail.
It's all part of the design, and that's why we have this situation right here that I'm pulling up about the Crown Act. So on September 21st in 2020, the United States House of Representatives passed the Crown Act of 2020, which failed to pass in the Senate. The bill was then reintroduced on March 22nd in 2021 in the House and Senate simultaneously as the Crown Act of 2021 and was passed by the House on March 18th in 2022. But the bill has never been voted on in the Senate. So you don't have any protections about your hair, but yet these white systems can say, well, oh, I just talked to the people that are involved. I just talked to the people that are impacted by this, and they made me change my mind. Or somebody else said, no, I'm going to fight for them to have this right. And then they received it. But we have our children in public school systems who are being defended by the finest attorneys that their money can buy, and yet we can't win because the government will not acknowledge that you cannot see yourself. You will not acknowledge that you are constantly looking for ways to oppress, looking for ways to dominate, looking for ways to control the Black body. So for those of you who are now looking at these things, looking at these, whatever headline you're looking at, and you're believing that it's for you, you're believing that whatever decision that's about to be made is going to work in your favor, it absolutely will not. Even if you benefit from it initially, even if you get something from it on the front end, believe me, it will come back to bite you because this system is not designed to protect you. This system is not your friend. Your heart, your mind is being foolish in these moments. And Roberta Flack, bless her soul, is trying to get us to say, look, stop, think, beware. You are a fool. Here's low. Judge Toney, who was the Chief Justice in the Dred Scott case, stated, no white person has to respect the rights of any Negro. Oh, I think that's Toney, Judge Toney. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Who was the Chief Justice in the Dred Scott case, stated, no white person has to respect the rights of any Negro. Just like we had, what's his name, Bull Connor?
Alabama, Birmingham.
Segregation now, segregation yesterday.
Wallace.
Okay, George Wallace. We have all of these statements that we can make about how we continue to, that we are continuing to be forced into this system. And so that's what Build Black is all about. Build Black is saying to us, listen, we recognize that this system was not designed for us. And we know that we have everything that we need within our divine selves to live outside of the system. We know we can do it because our ancestors did it before us. And they have given to us the power, the energy, the knowledge, the wisdom, the insight, everything that we need. We carry it in our bodies. So we don't have to be forced into these systems. We don't have to run scared because they're making some kind of decision that might affect us. As a matter of fact, you ought to try to get out of the system before it gets you, because I want to also remind us of what happened to Joy Ann Reid. Y'all know Joy Ann Reid?
Yeah.
It says Joy Ann Reid is leaving MSNBC as the network cancels her evening show. Donald Trump came for her and she was fired. That's what happened. And then why would he do that? Because the significance of her show is what? It was called The Read Out. And she was, it emerged online over the weekend after George Floyd, the murder, the execution of George Floyd on national TV, international TV, global television, sparking outrage from supporters of the show. I just want to tell you about I'm going to tell you why it was important. The readout was important because it had an impact on elevating historically marginalized voices in today's media landscape. That's why it was important. And she was never scared to call out anything that was happening with the White House or with Donald Trump by name. She stood 10 toes down, and now she has been canceled. She has been fired. Just like that. And that's what happens when we are entangled in these systems. Our livelihoods begin to depend on them. And so the moment that they are gone, we looking like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I want to remind us of what happened after that, after Joy Reid was fired. Here's the MSNBC president Rebecca Cutler. This is what she said. Joy Reid is leaving the network, and we thank her for her countless contributions over the years. That's it. Joy Reid is leaving the network, and we thank her for her countless contributions over the years. I think she was on there like 6 or 8 years. So you can give of your time, give of your talent, give of your effort, give of your intellectual property, give of your body, sacrifice your family, sacrifice time with your children, doing all of this to work for the system, only for the system to cancel you when it feels like it, and then give you one sentence as a dismissal, like you were not anything. And that's how they feel, going back to something Toney said. As long as I can monetize you, as long as you do what I say, as long as I can keep you by the front door, the spook by the front, as long as I can do all of that, then you good for us. But the moment you think that you're going to be independent thinkers, the moment that you think that you can survive without us, oh no, we got to put you in your place. And we do that through the system of religion. We do that through the system of education. We do that through the system of politics. All of these systems are working interconnectedly. And so we're saying to you, there is another way, and we are offering it to you. And it's called Bill Platt. And we invite you to be a part of the nation if you believe that that's something that will work for you. And again, that number is 501-503-2988, 501-503-2988. Our time is up, y'all. Toney, you have any last thing to say? Because we got just a few seconds.
The last thing I want to say is when you talk about emotions and foolishness, not only does it affect Black people, but you poor white people, you're finding out now also that the system ain't working for you.
Thank you all so much for joining us for Community Voices. You have been live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Wait a minute, I got one more comment. I see one more comment. Oh, that was my brother. My brother said, good information. I love you. Thanks for joining us. That's my big brother. Don't touch the dial. I'll be right here for the next 2 hours sitting in for your girl Lola. It is Jazzy Tuesday, and you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for joining us today. See ya.